I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Emmy nominee Sarah Boyd, Director of the pivotal Season 2 episode of The Boys entitled The Bloody Doors Off. It's a very apt title for that show. Sarah, I know the show is currently in the middle of production for Season 3. Everyone's working furiously to make this show happen. So first things first, can you please spill the beans on everything that you know about season 3, please? Because I just don't worry about spoilers. No one's going to watch this. Just tell me everything.
I'm doing the finale episode, so you would think perhaps I could, but I may not and will not.
Are you sure if I send you a muffin basket or something, will you just maybe give me something? But you're going to say no. You don't want to get fired.
Maybe.
You know why I'm so excited about the show? Because like season 1 was so wild, and then season 2 completely obliterated that and upped the ante. So what on earth could we possibly have to expect for season 3? Like, are you even surprised at how great it's turned out so far?
It was a great pleasure to receive all the scripts when I did, and which was actually quite early and in the process. So I was thrilled, and couldn't have been more excited that I'm doing the last 2 episodes of the season. It's going to blow everyone's minds, of course. Not literally.
Yeah, not literally. I mean, because that you've got to be careful on this show. Because when you say that, like, I'm telling you, I needed therapy after the season 2 with all the heads exploding. And the congresswoman, she's now obviously she's in this show, so I'm expecting more heads exploding, like that courtroom scene in that other episode. I'm still getting over that. But let's talk about the bloody doors off, because that was, as I said earlier, a pivotal episode. We got some backstory. We're in an asylum. Like, it's a confluence of all this really awesome stuff that you were able to just explore and get your fingers dirty in it. So firstly, for anyone who hasn't seen it, if you're the 3 people on earth who haven't seen it yet, the boys infiltrate an asylum. They're discovering that there are captive patients in there who have been injected with compound V. So that's the setup, right? Is that how it was sold to you? I mean, what was the outcome you wanted to get out of the episode?
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely, I think the 2 main standouts of the episode in terms of what makes it memorable is that you find out so much about Frenchie's backstory. You meet Lamplighter, new character, and then you just see all the crazy stuff that's happening at Sage Grove. Also, you get some good twist about Stormfront, right? So
that's right. There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff there.
But the Sage Grove facility, what we filmed in an old psychiatric institute. In a band one, but it was a legit psychiatric institute.
How did that come about?
It was a creepy place.
Yeah, so, okay, that's interesting. So obviously whoever is in charge of scouting locations and production design on the show was able to source this place. So was it actually really quite creepy shooting in there?
It was legit. It was extraordinarily unsettling. And it was labyrinthian. There were a lot of different wings, a lot of different places. And that's one of the reasons that we were drawn to it, was because different wings had different visual characteristics that made them distinctly different. So we could get a lot of different looks and a lot of different, just a lot of different locations within this one overall location. It was outside of Toronto, further than one normally goes. It's outside of the zone, as they call it. So actually, all the key crew and the actors had to be put up for a week outside of Toronto, just to make our days and do what we had to do. So it was like going to camp, but a very strange camp.
I can imagine. It just shows the attention to detail and the commitment that the cast and crew have on this show, that you went to the extent of actually being out of the city and camping out just to make sure that you were able to use this location, because it really does work. And I didn't know it was real. I thought it was just like, wow, they've really made this thing look so authentic. So that must be a real dream to be able to shoot and to create in that kind of environment. So did anything surprise you in that particular?
That said, Arv and his team did a lot of work. They were empty rooms, right? So
yeah, of course.
He made an entire security surveillance room with the servers on one side and all the bank of monitors on the other. And we just had to find a really interesting shaped room that was big enough to play in, but he completely made all that. And then the laboratory room where they run for cover, where Frenchie's able to make his bomb, and where the infamous love sausage comes through the door.
Oh
All
my God.
that was just an enormous empty room that we all decided what we needed to make those scenes work. And then there was no fence around it. So that's another thing where we built a fence around the place so it looked like it was contained. There's a lot of little things that one does to use an existing location, but make it feel right for the specifics of the show.
Yeah. I was a little surprised that late in the season we did spend quite some time on the Frenchie backstory. Like, Tony Capone is such a great actor, and I've always wanted to see more of him. And I always thought he's just a peripheral character. We'll never really learn more about him. But you got to really drill down into who he was. What was the best part of doing that aspect of the episode?
Well, Tomer was really committed to it. He was super excited that he got to do all these fun scenes from his past. And so we had a lot of talks ahead of time. He was very involved in, opinions about his costumes and stuff from that time period when he was younger and more of a partier, even more of a partier than he, probably still is. And picking the music for that first scene was really fun, the sort of French hip hop.
Yeah, love that.
I love that. I listened to that song over and over again.
So good.
I can't remember what it is, but it's so good. Anyway, and the video is cool too. Just to dive into someone's backstory, to find out what makes them tick, and then to bring it to life, in the seedy apartment that we created, was really great. And working with his two cohorts, his found family, Cherie and I'm blanking on his name, and his pal.
Yeah.
That was, they did a great job with some really high stakes scenes and getting really in the thick of it. And really, believing that the three of them were long soulmates, yeah, it was great. It was great to dig into that stuff. And then just to see something that we knew was haunting Frenchie for a while, but we never really knew why. So
Yeah.
it fills in the pieces. And I think a great flashback does that. It fills in pieces that you're yearning for. It doesn't just show you something for fun. And it helped you put two and two together. And it helped Eminem, it helped Mother's Milk, understand his friend too. Why didn't you ever tell me that, Frenchie? And he's like, would it matter? So it was a very effective flashback. And then also I love what we learned about Lamplighter and really making him a fleshed out character too.
That's right.
Haunted by his past. And Sean Ashmore was fantastic to work with. And he really just dug in with everything and went to a dark place really quickly and effectively, I thought.
Let's talk more about Lamplighter. I thought Sean Ashmore was so damn good in that episode, and I was really happy we got to learn more about him, because obviously for people who don't remember, he was in the Seven and then was kind of shunted so that Starlight could get in there. So there's all of that weighing on him, plus his dark past, plus what he's being tasked to do in the asylum by Stormfront, we learn. So what did Sean bring to the set that you really enjoyed and valued as when he had played Lamplighter?
Well, I remember seeing his audition. This was before I was even really technically on the show. They cast him early, and I was so excited because I wasn't expecting that at all. But and I just knew him from X-Men when he was young and little baby face. And just the idea that somebody like that could have fallen and scruffy and just damaged goods, and he just really was able to bring that forward. We talked a bit about how to use his lighter and what his power would look like physically when he did it. And we did a bunch of different tests, and he was game to FaceTime with me, and we tested some stuff, and then he would make recordings, and we'd send it to Eric. We'd say, Eric, what do you think about this? We wanted to make it not too tricky. We wanted to differentiate it from some other kinds of flame throwing that we've seen in other movies, but sort of make it his own, but not overly worry about tricking it out, because it's just, a lot of these decisions are made. Eric always wants to keep things grounded and keep things realistic and organic. So realistic, even though they're hyper real and crazy. So yeah, I would say that's what he just really liked to dig into the character and to just put his heart on his sleeve, you know, which he did in the back of that ambulance scene so nicely.
Yeah. I was also wondering when I first watched it, the episode feels like it's heavy on special effects. I'm just wondering, especially with the fire and the popping and the heads and all the violent stuff that we expect, as the director, what elements of these special effects do you get involved in? And is it really challenging to make an episode knowing that a lot of it has to be done in post?
Well, my background is actually in editing. So well, I have two sort of backgrounds. Really early on, I was an actor when I was a kid. And then I was an editor for many years. So, but so the editorial background makes me, and I've done a lot of VFX heavy shows as an editor. So I totally understand that process, and that, you know, lots of things do need to happen on the day while you're filming, but lots and lots more things will happen later in post. And there's always a VFX producer who's there with you on those difficult scenes to make sure that you're getting what we're going to need in the end. But it takes time to get those pieces. And one of the great things about season 2, and it seems to be true for season 3 as well, is that we're given the toys and the time to do it right, and to make it as epic as it reads on the page, so that it will be as epic when you see it on the screen. Is it doesn't, because you can't rush those things, you know. And then in post, it takes them time. Like there's I don't know what the adage is, but it's about like you can have it fast or you can have it cheap, or you can't have, you know, you can't can't have it both. So, or whatever. I don't know. I'm messing that up anyway.
Yeah, but I know.
Point is, it takes time and money to do things right. So, so yeah, there was definitely a lot of visual effects and some, for sure, special effects, and then combination. And all that stuff has to be carefully orchestrated ahead of time so that you don't waste your time on set on the day, and so that everyone knows what they're in for, and so everyone does it safely. And then we also have on set with us a playback person who can overlay something over something else that you filmed and do a real dirty comp. And so you're there watching whether it matched up and whether it's going to align, and whether you need to do it again, or whether you need to adjust. That's extremely useful. It's extremely useful for stunts to be able to watch something over again to make sure you got it, because then you don't waste time saying, "I think I got it. Did we get it? Yeah, did you?" You know, just watch, watch it over, and then we know, okay, we did get it. Or there's one thing we didn't get. Let's do it again for this specific reason. When we flipped over the van, you know, there was one time it flipped over and it stayed upside down. And we were like, should we try it again in hopes that it will go right side up? Like, you know, we can't predetermine that. It's sort of like a physics thing. It's sort of like luck. So we're like, we'll try it one more time, because if it goes right side up, that'd be ideal. And then we can film the next part of the scene knowing that. And so we did it one more time, and sure enough, it was right side up. I was like, oh, that's better. That's easier for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up your illustrious career as an editor. You've got 2 nominations from the Emmys for your work on Lost. Yeah. And so you edited a number of episodes of Lost, and lots of genre, like Jack Ryan and Bates Motel and Colony, The Killing. So you've got a lot of stuff, you know, in your arsenal. What I wonder is, as an editor who's become a director, and so you've got those 2 great artistries that you've managed to kind of do really well. Does it make you a better director because you know what you're giving to the editor? I'm not really putting this in a very good way, am I? But do you know what I mean? It's they're very related.
Yeah, I think everybody, there's very few people who direct having never done anything before, so everyone brings something to the table, right? Yeah. But I think, yeah, an editor can bring something very useful to the table, which is that you've seen what works and what doesn't. You've seen some of the pitfalls of some great directors doing things that maybe they wasted their time not needing to do, or the opposite. You've seen very efficient directors and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how efficiently they told that story. I would never have thought to do that. So you learn a lot from watching other people's work. And then you also learn a lot from, after working with the director, hearing what the producers then want you to do with that material. And can you? Because it doesn't just, the buck doesn't stop with the director, right? In television, it's not a director's medium, it's a showrunner's medium. And obviously the studio and the network also weigh in. So at many levels after the director, an editor is asked to adjust, sometimes just nuances and other times significantly recrafting a scene. And so if you have the material to recraft, you can. And if you don't, it's very hard. So everyone loves a oneer when it's super impressive, except the people who don't love the oneer are the people who are stuck with the oneer and then they're being asked to fix something and they don't have the material to fix it.
Yeah. I always ask that question for editors because I always say to them, what happens when you don't have enough coverage and you have to kind of work your magic and you can't? And the answers have been varied, but I imagine for someone like yourself, because now you're on both sides of that spectrum, you are trying to give as much coverage as you can, make everything as seamless as possible to give the editor enough material to chisel it down. Is that generally the case?
Yeah, I think the other thing that being having an editing background perhaps helps you with is that, you know, I'm more attuned to how I'm likely to use a certain size shot. So I don't need like 17 takes of a master. I just need to make sure that the master, the widest shot, that it works for the things I think it might be used for. That's not always the beginning and the ending. Sometimes it's the moment in this shot when someone stands up and repositions, or where something happens on the TV in the background, or whatever it is. But if you just have in your mind that I only need really that and that to work, you know, the actor is always going to say, "Can I do it again? I didn't get everything." You don't have to get everything. It's not a oneer, you know. But we do need to get certain things right. So let's do it just until we get those certain things, and then we should move the heck on, because there's going to be lots and lots more pieces later where we can get everything just hunky-dory.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, I think it would be such a dream to have both of those skill sets in your brain. My final question, it's really interesting that you have a poster up behind you. You must have read my mind, because season 2, while the bad blood between the boys of the Sips remains the key narrative driver, season 2 was really driven in large part by its female characters, and the girls absolutely get it done. And it was kind of used as a joke and also in reality. I think the journey for Aya Cash's character, Stormfront, was so interesting. And in your episode, we learned some really serious stuff about her that was quite confronting. What was that aspect like for you?
I think it was fantastic. It was so creepy. And it was interesting working with Aya, because she was always, she really wanted to do right by the character, but she herself is like nothing like the character, obviously. And so she had a lot of trouble digging into that horrible, deep, racist place. You know, like she had this like tiny little thing where she had to give A-Train a dirty look, and she was like, I didn't I give him a dirty look? I was like, you could give him a dirtier look. She's like, I can. I was like, well, let's see, you know. And I think it was just hard for her to be that horrible a person, right? But then she did it, and it was like, it's fantastic. And did it without being arch, you know, without being over the top. That's the trick, right? That's the tricky part. So yeah, it was really interesting to see her horrible backstory. And then, you know, I love that a lot of these characters are deeply flawed. Even Queen Maeve, you know, deeply flawed, but so interesting. And, you know, there's so much that you empathize with her about, and you feel for her. So it helps. And I don't know, it just helps. I love it when characters, all of them, men and women, are people that you can both root for and also go, that was a bad choice. I wouldn't have made that choice. And then you talk about it afterwards with your, you know, friends around the water cooler, whatever, like, can you believe they did that? Oh yeah, I can't believe they did it. Or no, I can't believe they did that.
I know, so interesting. I mean, even Homelander, I was kind of slightly feeling for him in this episode when he's with Stormfront and he's like, geez, you're making me look good. And so that's why this episode is so rich. There's so much to offer, and it really does kind of be a second or third viewing because there's a lot going on. So on that note, congrats on a fantastic episode. I'm so looking forward to season 3. Maybe offline you can tell me all your secrets. You probably won't. But in the meantime, good luck, and we look forward to speaking to you again.
Thanks so much.